Love you, bro. Hey, down, this is Clark. Hey, if you get a chance, could you give me a call back, please? Love you, bro. I want to talk to you about the house. Hey, down, this is Clark. Love you, bro. Hey, down, this is Clark. Love you, bro.
Hi, I'm Trevor.
Hi, I'm John.
And you are listening to the first episode of what we're calling Season 3 of Caps Off.
Season 3. We made it.
we made it. Episode 21. Who would have thought?
What a long way we've come.
Yeah, honestly, if we did this as regularly as we started off wanting to, we would be far past episode 21. But far past it. There's like 52 weeks in a year.
Well, that's what happens when you promise weekly episodes and then you do like almost not even monthly.
Yeah. I mean, that first episode, it was up for like 7 months before.
Yeah, nearly a year.
Yeah.
It felt like.
So that's like, I'm always wondering, like, where would we count the 1 year mark or like our anniversary? Would we just count that at episode 2? Is that where we started doing regularly, or would we count the first one?
I mean, I'm sure we could just look back to see like the dates that we posted them and just pick whatever fancies our opinion in the moment.
Yeah.
Pardon my voice. I have a cold or allergies. I haven't figured out which. It might just be. You never know these days. Do you think we've had a lot of like progression in our character arcs?
Yes.
From season 1?
Yeah, because I went back and listened to, because I was trying to get something for that last episode, but I cut out us even talking about it, so there's no point in mentioning what it was. But I went back and listened to one of the older episodes, and it was very difficult. It wasn't as bad as I remembered it being, but it was still hard. And then right after I turned around and listened to last week's episode to edit it, and there's a real difference in both of us.
I feel like we mentioned that probably. That's like we switch from thing to thing there, where we mention it for like 3 episodes in a row. We talk about like, well, I was listening to the old,
yeah. Remember how bad that was?
Yeah. Surprise. Spoilers. I hated it.
Well, if you want to talk about something else, we definitely can. We can talk about the Weezer Phenomenon.
You've just stolen like the Hamburglar, just theft, completely swiped, like Swiper, my attention. Please go on. What did you call it? The Weezer what?
The Weezer Phenomenon?
The Weezer Phenomenon.
This is because there have been 5 separate occasions, or somewhere around there, maybe 6, maybe 4. But there's
like the Mandela effect.
Sort of. Where I've heard a song playing, and I've been like, this is a nice sounding song, and I'll Shazam it on my phone to see what song it is, and it's been a Weezer song, and that worries me because I don't want to be a Weezer fan. Oh no! But it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening, and I'll hear a song and be like, it's pretty good. Wonder who sings it. It's Weezer.
Let's back up. First of all, so you're not a Weezer fan.
I am a surface level Weezer fan at the moment.
What do you mean? What defines service level? Like you know a few hits.
I knew one song before the Weezer Phenomenon. One Weezer song. It was "Island in the Sun."
Okay, which is ironically like that's a classic. But
yeah.
I feel like most people would say like Buddy Holly or. See, you look so puzzled when I said that. That's really, you really aren't a fan. So the next part I have is you're not a fan, but the whole basis.
I know the
for this
stigma around Weezer.
Yeah, so the whole basis for this phenomenon is you've enjoyed every time you've accidentally heard Weezer. But you don't want to be a fan.
Yeah,
like,
that's precisely correct. Yeah,
you can't let that happen.
I'm like, oh my god, I can't. Like Hamilton fans and Rick and Morty fans. You know, it's like,
awful.
Am I gonna be annoying?
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of thing for like the thing to be good.
Yeah,
but the people who like it are just so bad that you're like, I can't even enjoy the thing anymore.
Right.
I don't even know why I'm here. So, and then you look them up. It's just how many times have you done this?
I think off the top of my head, I'm counting 3, but it's still, I feel like even if it were twice, that'd be too many. Once like, oh, okay, a Weezer song, but the fact that it's happened.
You're like the Weezer Phenomenon.
3, I'm like, oh my god. So every
Watch
time
my descent into Weezer fandom.
yeah, I'm gonna. I feel like I'm gonna be walking in Walmart, and Walmarts have some Walmarts have like the little radio playing. Some supermarkets do. It's gonna get to the point where those things I'm gonna start being like, that's a pretty catchy song. I wonder what it is.
It's their cover of Africa. Of course, you think it's catchy.
Right,
it's Africa.
So the 3 songs are. I think so. The first 2 have come because they're credits songs for movies that have played at Uptown. For Frozen, they did a cover of Lost in the Woods, and then for Bill and Ted, the new Bill and Ted, they had a song at the end of that. And those were the 2 that I was like, that's pretty solid little song. And then the third one was a cover of Stand By Me. And I was like,
I love how far something doesn't have to go for it to be a phenomenon for you. Because like once is like,
what other time have I called something a phenomenon?
Well, I'm just gonna stick to this one. But I just think for this example, it's like the once is you get the usefulness out of, what is it, Shazam? You said the app,
Shazam or Siri. You can just ask her.
And then twice is a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wow, another Weezer song. I like that again. And then the third time, you're like the shocked Pikachu meme. This is a phenomenon.
Have you guys heard the John asked me to be on a podcast phenomenon? It's a weird one.
It happens a lot.
21 times.
More than 21. Because you have to count the lost episode.
The lost episode, yeah. And John Gone West episode 7.
Are those 2 things?
Those are separate, yeah.
God, I can't even keep track anymore.
I think they're separate.
So, are you like anticipating hearing another Weezer song on accident in the future?
Well, I guess I'm not like waiting and like holding on to my seat like, well, when's it gonna happen? But
okay, but you're not like looking around each corner for it.
Right.
Are you?
I feel like it's going to happen. Yeah.
What's the odds you think that it's gonna happen? If you could put a number on it. If you possibly could put a number on the odds.
I'd say like a solid 75%. Yeah, it'll happen within the next week.
And it'll be Weezer.
25% it won't happen.
If it happens or not, it will be Weezer.
What are you saying? What?
I guess it wouldn't have to happen if it wasn't Weezer.
But yeah, like if it wasn't Weezer, then it doesn't happen. It's then 25%.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I'll re-listen to this and be like, oh, that makes total sense. Why was I confused? But. Yeah.
So if it happens again, like say it happens on your way home and you swear on your life it's Weezer and then it's not, is that like myth busted for you?
Oh, no. Oh, okay. So, no, I see what you're saying. No, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. No. So I don't ever expect it to be Weezer. That's the Weezer phenomenon. But then when I find out it is, I think, how could I have ever thought it was anybody else? So if I suspect that it's a Weezer song, that's not part of the Weezer phenomenon. It's like when it totally catches me off guard, which has been every time.
If you were to do the post-nut, pre-nut clarity challenge
with
Weezer songs, do you think that would affect the Weezer phenomenon?
I couldn't tell you. There's only one way to find out.
You gotta beat it out of him.
There's a lot more crazy stuff that happens at Uptown than the Weezer phenomenon. For example, for Three Finger Polly. The other day, I walked in to clean one of the bathrooms, and there were shoe prints on the toilet.
Oh no!
But not like they were standing up to try and reach something. They were positioned where like the heels were back, like pointing toward the tank, like they were squatting. They squatted down and then dropped some I was not a
Like,
fan.
you think it was out of like insecurity, or do you think they were like bracing?
I don't know. The toilet was clean though, so they did a good job. They stuck the landing.
Because the insecurity part I could get. There's not a public toilet seat on the planet that I really feel comfortable with sitting on. Like,
Have you ever squatted on the toilet seat?
Let me get there.
Feet up on the toilet?
I feel like that's a stigma with everybody when it comes to a toilet. Like, you only really like your at-home toilet.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you have multiple toilets in your house, like multiple bathrooms, you probably even have a preference of toilet.
Right.
I know you do, but that's because it's attached to your room. But
Yeah.
the point being is, like, I think I lost it. I don't know where I was going with the toilet thing. Oh, yeah. God, I got a head cold.
This is a tough start.
Yeah, when it comes to squatting, I've never done that.
Yeah.
But I would be doing it on an insecurity level if I ever did. Maybe they're hiding from something. Like, is there an under part of the stall? Like in most bathrooms? Because I know some bathrooms.
Oh, yeah, like where there's like the little gap? Yeah.
Our stalls in high school, you remember, didn't even have doors.
Yeah.
I don't know how many
Wait,
times.
what? I'm zoning out. What'd you say?
Our bathroom stalls in high school.
No doors?
In Iowa,
doors.
yeah, it didn't have doors. So you just walk in and see like somebody's coat, like from their arms, kind of strung up. But you'd still, like, if you just bent at like maybe close to a 90-degree angle, you would see.
Oh my God.
Absolutely everything.
I'm
that-
surprised I almost missed that. I was thinking about the word doink. I was on a little tangent in my brain.
I'm gonna ask why you were thinking about the word.
You can't figure it out?
Oh no, I can't.
Doink.
So, but I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna go out and say that that's what they were doing, whether they were hiding from someone, because they might have been bracing. Like, they could have been having a
They might have just been fucking weird.
like a birthing like bowel movement that they were going through, a type of body separating experience.
God, I feel like I would have felt that. Like a disturbance in the force. Just like doing dishes.
You
and
didn't remotely see who it was. You just
No, I
the end of the day.
opened and I
Women's
walked in.
room?
Men's room.
Men's room. Okay.
Middle stall.
All right. I don't know why I immediately thought it was women's room for a second.
Okay, women's bathrooms are worse than men's bathrooms.
Yeah.
Women
what's that
are
all about?
like
I don't know.
women.
You don't know? That's the best you can give us.
What I've found working and cleaning bathrooms is that women refuse to flush, like I'd say easily 3 to 4 times more often than men refuse to flush.
Because guys usually pee in a urinal, so there's that.
I'm talking poop. I
Oh,
see.
poop?
Yeah,
You're
I
talking
see.
poop?
I get some buddies in there.
They're just making
Some
deposits
pals.
and taking off without grabbing the receipt.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's insane.
So
The only women's restroom that I have ever had to clean was like for my first job when I worked at a grocery
Hy-Vee.
store. Yeah, and that's their like individual bathrooms, kind of like. Well, no, Uptown has stalls, and this
Yeah.
is. Well, no, these individual bathrooms had stalls too. It was just really small. It had like
There were 2 stalls
Yeah.
in there.
2 stalls. Of course, I saw more in the men's restroom because they had the urinal.
Right.
I just
I
don't think
never.
about that.
I went to the men's restroom maybe once there, so
I always assume that because there's not a urinal that you're gonna have more room in there.
yeah.
Because the handicap stall is just about the same size.
really?
Yeah, in both bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other stall. Oh, that's the thing. The men's restroom only had 1 stall.
The handicap stall and the urinal. That's it.
The women's restroom had
2
the
stalls.
handicap stall and then the not handicap stall and then the sink. That's why I'm thinking disproportionately. Why these people don't fucking care about the bathroom.
What
for
is-
my first job?
Well, while we're on bathrooms though, what is your preference of stall to use? Are you a handicap stall kind of guy? Hey, can you back the fuck off? Little cats, dude. A couple kittens roaming around here.
Yeah, there's like 5 of them. I'm glad you asked that question actually, because it kind of rounds me back to not only the original topic of the theater bathroom, but
Yeah.
also the school bathroom, which is I never use them. I will not go in public if I can get away with it.
Wow.
Of course, I'm human. I've been on this this planet for 22 years, and I obviously have not been 100% when it comes to avoiding using public restrooms.
Yeah.
But if I can get away with it, I won't. So I think maybe once in my entire high school career did I use the restroom without not just walking in, taking a piss, and walking out, and that was like an emergency. But otherwise, like senior year, we would just leave at that point. But leading before that, I would just try to plan around not, and if I had to go, I held it in the most unhealthy way until I got home.
That's how appendicitis happens.
Yeah.
I would know.
I had appendicitis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now I know exactly why.
Look at us.
Because of my poop anxiety.
Look at you.
Yeah, no,
What about you? Are you a stall or a handicap stall or the regular?
I'm not a handicap stall kind of guy. No, I like to use either the one before it or a few ones before it, because I feel like everybody usually goes for the handicap stall and nobody wants to be in the stall closest to the door. So I'm like, well, I can, depending on the bathroom, sort of cherry pick what the least used stall is, and that's my guy.
I guess I never really answered your question. I would say I go for not the handicap stall, just like the regular stall.
Yeah.
Because it seems so disrespectful. You're just sitting there. And
I don't know, if it's a hefty one, I need those rails.
You need the bracing.
Yeah, but what if you're sitting there bracing and a pair of wheels roll up and just start knocking on the door?
You start limping out of that.
Yeah,
You start
hunch over.
Yeah. Making noises you're not supposed to make.
Oh my god. Terrible.
Handicapped people. You make some handicapped faces.
So, Trevor, do you think the moon landing's real?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Have you watched like the original footage?
I can't say that I've combed through it in recent times, but I went through this little phase in 7th grade where I noticed in most of the pictures the flag is waving, and I was like, what the fuck is up with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into it a little bit, enough to convince me, like, okay, yeah, that shit's... we didn't,
out.
yeah, and especially now that I'm making movies, I have the knowledge to know that we did not have the technology to fake it properly, let alone like we had the technology to go to the moon, but film technology was so shitty in the 60s,
Yeah.
we would not have been able to fake it.
Which kind of seems ironic that you can get to the moon, but you can't make a decent 720p.
I mean, even Gravity. I mean, Gravity's a good-looking movie, but there's a lot of that movie's designed to look like it's actually in space, and there's still some parts where you're watching it, and it's like, that's fake, and I know it.
Well, I did just recently rewatch a little bit of that first initial tape of the first moon landing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff about it really questionable. And then I saw another thing that I thought was really interesting. Somebody said that, I don't know who it was, but one of the same guys that worked on The Shining, which you just watched.
When I was working on the moon landing?
No, but that was one of the first things he worked on. Was apparently that's the theories that he helped, film and create this fake moon landing. And you look at the video, and of course, I don't know what it's like to be on the moon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know what that kind of difference in gravity is like, what I should be moving like, but looking at these guys, it looks like they're on Earth and they're just on a very dusty, sandy set, because the movements that they're doing seem completely influenced by gravity compared to when you look at...
Well, the moon has gravity.
Of course it has gravity if they don't just fly away, but that's the thing, is it's a lot lower percentage of gravity. And now you look at current space footage or moon footage, and they kind of it's a little bit slower, a little bit wavier. But when you look at the first one, it's just they're trying to make it seem like it's that. Mm-hmm. The almost delay in the movements that they do based off of the low gravity. But it just looks like they're really clumsy and they're moving around and they're just trying to facilitate that kind of free moving feeling in the way that they walk. And then there's a lot of stuff like that that's really questionable, with the flag moving and stuff. And back to The Shining.
There are... Okay.
In The Shining, in the background, there's a plethora of space references, like the room that they stay in.
Yeah, no, not the room that they're staying in, but the one that is like the worst room or whatever is that number is significant.
Yeah, and then there's like there's a shot with like Tang in the background.
Mm-hmm.
A couple cans of Tang that are perfectly put there. There's more than I'm thinking of. I really should have came prepared with any of these, but it makes you think a little bit.
I think so. There's explanations for a lot of these things though, like the flag waving. Mm-hmm. The pole on the flag for the moon has not only just like the initial flagpole, the vertical flagpole, but it also has a horizontal one so that the flag can be displayed. And there are going to be wrinkles and inconsistencies just like there are in your clothes, because why would the absence of air mean that something is perfectly straight?
Because it's kind of looking like it's moving because of wind, like a wind pattern.
Well, right, but you can see things in like space station videos where like their rags just moving kind of on their own, or because it's a weak fabric. I think any movement from it being planted in the ground, that's probably planted in the ground, and anything that may have touched it or moved around it is going to travel through that, because it can't travel through the air, so travel through the ground and the moon and up through the flagpole and just cause little tiny ripples. I definitely don't think it was like waving and flapping gloriously.
I was watching it earlier, and it looks stiff.
Yeah,
and it kind of moves back and forth almost like a political sign in the wind, kind of like it had the mass, the square big surface where it allows the wind to catch perfectly.
Yeah,
moves back and forth, so you kind of get that feeling from it, which also makes me think like how you'd have to know the specifics on the pole, you'd have to know the specifics on the texture of the flag to be able to debunk that entirely, because like why would that top part be able to swing like that if it was, with these movements, unless it was loose on the top like that in case so the flag could swing in any direction. We don't know the details of that.
Right.
Which kind of debunks whether me looking at it and I'm seeing these weird movements that kind of make it seem like the wind is blowing on it and that's making it go back and forth like that.
I, like you, definitely need to look into it more to be able to properly debunk this, but I just
prepared.
right, because I did not think we were going to be talking about the moon landing. There is definitely footage that was proved to be doctored, and NASA came out and was like, yeah, we doctored this because it was either test footage of the astronauts in the suits where they removed the backgrounds and redid it for advertisement purposes, or footage that was already there where they just kind of masked out astronauts and stuff. So there definitely is stuff that has been proven to be doctored for the sake of like promoting the moon landing. But I think all in all, I don't think there's like a real part of me that's like, yeah, we never went to the fucking moon.
I definitely see, that's why I kind of find this conversation interesting at this point in time, because I have just recently kind of started to entertain it.
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, yeah, I mean, it's just like every other conspiracy that everyone's just like, they kind of like the idea and they latched onto it.
There's a girl that we both know in high school. I was talking to her, and someone was like, I don't remember what somebody said, but I think they brought up like the moon landing being fake, and I was just hanging out there, and we were in a play, and I said something like point like you're looking at the moon, and she was like, well, what if you don't like believe in the moon? And I was like, what the fuck? A, what does that have to do with it? Just like, is that crucial to your character? All right. B, you don't believe in the moon? And she was like, well, I mean, it's entirely possible that it's like a projection up in the sky. I mean, nobody's ever been there. And I was like, people have been there, all right? And even if that was faked, nobody's arguing whether the moon's fake.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying.
Like cardboard.
I'm not going to deny that no one's ever been to the moon, because I definitely think that we've been there.
Yeah.
I just think I wouldn't put it past the government to try to, because they were the idea was floated by JFK because the Russians had a far better space program.
Right.
Of course, he died before they could reach the moon. But just that kind of tenacity behind it, I would not put it past the government, especially like a government from decades ago where things were a little bit more shifty and there's not all these like safeguards and checks and balances and whatnot, stuff like that had to develop. So I totally lost where I was.
Well, you were talking about you're not doubting that people have been to the moon.
Yeah, I just think that one might have been doctored. And there's a lot of other footage that's doctored. Like I saw a lot of the space station footage that you've ever seen. They do like documentaries and stuff where you can watch and go and see where they live and how they eat and how they sleep and kind of their basics, stuff like that. But they have a ton where they have done like these interviews and they have these women like starch up their hair, and it's painfully obvious because like when you're in space, the gravity makes your hair kind of like flow, very water-like, but it's not like fixed in any which way.
Yeah, not like straight up off your head.
Like Mrs. Frankenstein, like with the hair just like straight up, or like something from Jersey Shore, like completely just extended off.
What's
of their
that
head
guy? The Situation.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that name. So isn't that so great?
The Situation.
I'm the fucking Situation. And then people know who you're talking about.
It's such a when did Jersey Shore first come on?
I have no idea.
2010
Yeah.
range. I love that. It was a decade later, and you're like, classic. The Situation.
The Situation.
What a name.
That guy's self-absorbed. I'm nowhere near him.
He's the Situation.
He is the Situation. I wish I was the Situation, but unfortunately, I could never.
You could make yourself the Situation. I.e., walk into a theater and yell fire.
Wow,
that's a situation.
I've been the product of a situation before. But
someone's yelled fire at you before.
No, I remember there was a kid. Okay, so we didn't always have the wall. You moved here. We have the Walmart that you know and love.
Yes.
We used to have a much smaller Walmart where Hobby Lobby is, and I remember I was in there once and I was just roaming around and the baby food aisle was right next to like the kids clothes aisle. So my mom was shopping for like kids clothes and I just wandered off into the baby food aisle. And as I turned the corner, there was this other kid around my age, maybe a year younger. I'm like 5 or 6 at this point. And I just turned the corner and we made like direct eye contact and he went, "Who are you?" And that was a situation. I was like, I had so many questions right off the bat. That weren't "Who are you?" but that were like, "Why do you expect to know me?"
That's the whole story.
That's the whole story. Yeah, just a little snippet.
Did you tell him who you were?
No, not at all. I was like,
just walk away.
Well, I was like, "Why do you care?" And he was like, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders. So I just kept moving, packed it up, moved it right along. There's nothing to gain from that guy. I wonder what he's up to. I wonder if he remembers that.
Legend says he's still in Walmart to this day.
That's the Situation 2 Electric Boogaloo.
What's your views on bucket lists?
Oh, I think they're amazing. I think because bucket lists are connected to something I told you we talked about earlier, where I told you if I didn't have a deadline for something, it would just continue to never be done, and I would never put it out. And so deadlines are important. I think bucket lists gives quote unquote deadlines to people who are or to things that normally you wouldn't be pressed to do. Like, I want to go skydiving someday, but now it's like, well, I got to go skydiving before I die. So it makes it a little more of a priority. And I think that's how a lot of people end up doing things that they really enjoy and finding the things that they like. I mean, I'm building up a bucket list myself of things to do before I move to LA.
So you already have one?
A little bit. I have some things. I already have plans to go skydiving in April.
Yeah, you told me.
April and May.
It's exciting. You should do a Sky podcast. top-notch audio. Okay, so you don't really consider it like a real bucket list, but you have like a
Right, because most people's bucket
list
lists are like before I die.
with a yeah. So is skydiving, is that one of those things on the list?
Yeah.
What else is on the list, if you care to say?
I want to. So this season of Caps Off, this chunk, the next chunk, because of something I guess we can talk about it next episode. So at least the next 20 episodes of Caps Off, and
You mean the Caps Off show?
the Caps Off show. That's right. We rebranded. We rebranded, and I didn't realize that because I haven't done it yet in this time currently.
It's exciting.
So yeah, the next 20 episodes and From the Rich to the Poor. That's your movie.
That's on your bucket list?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's something I think
I'm glad.
I don't want to leave and have that be unfinished. I think that's a superb idea, and I want
would
to
hate
do
to
anything
have
I
that
can to be a
too.
part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
See if Caroline will take me back. No.
so if you were to have a bucket list, is there anything just immediately off the top of your head that you're like, that's going on there?
Well, my go-to is usually skydiving, so now I'm kind of
You're
taking.
putting yourself in a corner.
Well, yeah, I'm taking it back because like I'm making that happen.
You might as well just fucking end it.
Kick that stool out from under me.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie The Bucket List with Morgan Freeman and who's the other one in that movie?
I don't know. I can't say I've seen it.
Jack Nicholson? I might be wrong. Don't quote me on
Jack
that.
Nicholson was in The Shining. He was the
Yeah.
Joker. Okay.
No, I didn't see it either. That's
Oh, okay.
I should watch The Bucket List on my bucket list, I think.
You probably should. Was that the joke that you were going for? Or did you just think of
No,
that?
that's not the joke, and I'm pretty sure I've heard that joke before somewhere. If I'm
Okay.
going to be completely honest.
I was really hoping that whole list wasn't. I
I don't think I came up with that joke, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think it should go on, like, because I do have, as you know, I would like movies to watch list that I'm kind of lagging behind on, but
Yeah.
it's there. And
Don't we all?
I think I should definitely put bucket lists on, especially if I'm considering making a bucket list. But
What's on your bucket list? What can you pull off that you're willing to share?
I don't really.
Autoerotic asphyxiation, just once.
I don't really have. Oh, God. Just, I mean, don't knock it. Don't knock it till you try it, kids. I don't have a list at this moment in time, but the reason that question came up on this podcast because of another podcast I was listening to, and that came up, and I was like, I'm just gonna steal that topic.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
I mean, it's not like they own it. I'll get more of a fight from Morgan Freeman, I'm sure. But one of the ones is like, it was like an old lady, and she had the police come and arrest her because it was on her bucket list to get arrested, but she was like pushing 80 something.
Oh, I think I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And my initial thought was like, that'd be kind of fun to put on your bucket list. And then I remember I'd been arrested before, just once.
You still write it down and check it off.
Hey, yeah. It must.
Right in the middle of you saying there's a list that's halfway done.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, I'm going to try my best to fix this, but if there are still some choppy parts, my computer is almost full. So I have to delete some stuff. So
Trevor's editing nightmare part 2.
yeah, the podcast keeps just cutting out.
Yeah.
And I have to go hit record again and see how long it'll last.
Future Trevor, please don't kill yourself after you skydive.
Future Trevor might use the skydive to kill himself.
2 birds.
Just don't pull that chute.
Neither of them are you.
There's been some weird stuff happening at my gym.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So to start off, there is.
The bucket list thing.
Oh, okay,
Just
okay,
real
good.
quick
Go
before we
ahead.
go
No,
on.
you're good.
I did think about one thing I wanted to be in my bucket list. I really want to be in like a bar fight.
Really?
Yeah, like a legitimate, like a classic, like
Slamming stools.
Yeah, like somebody breaks a bottle over the back of my head, and I'm
not your head.
somebody...
It's got to be someone else's, because that's what starts the bar fight always. It's like a little like. Psh,
okay, so it's the guy next.
And the
to
guy
me.
falls to the ground, and then everyone starts
and
fighting
as
everyone.
A reaction, I just immediately punch the person to my other side. And I think honestly, that's probably the best. Like the outcome is half the bucket list item.
Yeah.
Or not the outcome. The way it starts is that procession happening that way. Is how I can get that crossed off the list, I think, to be, because it has to happen just like that. That's like an authentic, nice, and I would say it'd be really authentic if I lost a tooth, but I love my teeth, so
right.
I think I'll go with
Well, even if you did lose it, Domino's would always take you back.
Oh, God.
There was, I think, collectively maybe 20 teeth outside of you and me. And the management and drivers of that place.
Tell me about your gym.
My gym has been... there's been something weird. I've been calling it the Jaguar Fitness Phenomenon.
No,
I've been calling it the Jaguar Fitness Phenomenon, which I just started calling it right now. But it started off with this one guy. I was in the gym alone one night, and I was listening to my music really loud, getting pumped up, just working through it.
Yeah.
And he
was doing legs, you were doing arms. Could it be any more obvious?
Right. No, but I was doing chest, and him and a group of people were all sitting around the bench press, and so I walked up, and what I wanted to happen was for me to walk up, pull my headphone out, and say, "Hey, are you guys still using this?" And then say no, and then I can bench press. But what actually happened is I had my music up so loud, I pulled out my headphone, and I went, "Are you guys using this?"
Oh, God.
And then I realized it was too late to be like, "Oh, I'm not retarded. I'm just, I was just listening to loud music." But so like this one dude who was standing at the edge of the circle was like, "No." And he just kept staring at me like there was something wrong with me. And so I did the bench press, and I left. The guy kept like side-eyeing me the entire time. And then I eventually went in another time, and Weston and I don't remember what I did, but I did something to like make him laugh. We were working out together, and I did something to make him laugh, and he had his eyes closed, he was doing the workout, and he didn't look in time, and so I just looked like I was doing something stupid, and I turn around, and who's standing there but that guy from last time, who was just like, oh my God, this kid is
the
obviously...
guy you yelled at.
yeah, that guy. It was just saw me do something incredibly stupid and did not realize it was for a joke. And then the third time, I walked into the gym with Weston, and that guy started talking to Weston, and so I walked over, and we spent a few minutes talking to him, and I would like jump in and interject with like competent statements, so he would know I'm a normal functioning adult. And he did not make eye contact with me once. He refused to look at me.
Like he thought something was wrong with you, or
I think that's what it is. I think
he decided he just didn't like you.
I think he thinks I'm disabled.
Oh, no.
So, but here's the thing. Like, so there's a 1,000-pound club, and Weston and I went to go do it, and it's like 1,000 pounds between your 3 lifts, the 3 main lifts, and I wore my flash suit to it because I thought that would be cool, and people did like it.
Real quick, that's the second analogy where you've been mentally handicapped in this podcast.
Wait, what was the first one?
When when you're in the stall and you see the wheels.
Oh yeah. I'll pull that card.
We're gonna have to add like a Down syndrome Trevor to the multiverse.
Oh God. Yeah, so I wore my flash suit to the 1,000-pound club. And right, and then a few days later, me and Weston were talking to this woman. We were filling up our water in the bathroom, and we came out at the same time. She's like, "You guys use the bathroom together too?" Because we're kind of developing like a reputation of being like gym partners.
Gay as hell.
Right, something like that. I mentioned that he has a fiance every chance I get. Hey, he's visiting his fiance. He's not here today. He's in Tucson with her.
You make out by the water cooler once. The whole gym starts whispering to each other.
But yeah, she asked if we went to the bathroom together too, and we were like, oh no, haha, very funny, you hot woman. And she,
if it were a man, he would have said something more along like, you guys hold it for each other too.
Yeah, but
like
if it were a man, I wouldn't have felt bad about like busting his chops right back, you know.
Offer to hold it for him.
Right, get in here, you know. But if I offer for her, I'm just like, why don't you come in here and find out? You know, it's a whole different connotation.
Felony.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and she was like, you guys went to the 1,000 Pound Club, right? And I was like, yeah, I wore my flash suit. And she's like, haha. And I was like, I'm not joking. And she's like, really? You're not fucking with me? And I was like, no. And I showed her a picture.
She wished.
And she was like, oh, that is so freaking cool. And as soon as
felt bad about the laugh.
As soon as she walked out, as soon as she walked away, Weston turned to me and was like, now 2 people think you're retarded. And I was just spreading. It's just growing, right?
That's amazing.
But that's not all that's happened. There's got to be like, I step in there and suddenly there's something off with the Earth's tilt. Because just, I don't know, I got I think I told you this already. I got my body fat percentage measured because Weston and I were about to cut. And he's got this little like tool that pinches down. He'll pinch the fat on like the back of your arm and your side and your neck and stuff just to see how much of that is fat, because I guess you can't pinch it and grab muscle. You can only grab fat, and it measures that, and he does calculations based on your height and weight.
I'm fat as fuck. You could probably pinch almost any portion of my body with that thing.
Maybe, and you get the
drag on it.
You know what would happen? What would happen to you is what happened to me, because he had me lift up my shirt and he pinched my side, and he went, "Ooh, someone's been eating the food over there at Uptown, huh?" And I was like, it's kind of rude. He was like, "Am I lying?"
Well, he's
I was like,
not.
"No."
You do it to yourself. And you know you do.
He was like, "Am I lying?" And I was like, "No, you're not lying." But then he didn't stop there. Like, Weston laughed, and so then it's like, I don't know. He thought it was like the fucking yuck hour. And
think anybody in the audience feels sympathetic for you, even remotely, given the last 2 episodes that we recorded
with Josh
over and over and over, and he's not a fat guy.
No, he's not. He's genuinely
honestly,
not
I think
fat.
He's in better shape than I am.
Right.
We just have just been pounding him, but he has a history of being fat, so it's still got like a little bit of a sting to it.
Right. So I just sound like an asshole being like, "Oh, I got called fat."
Yeah.
But like I said, like
he's
he
shredded compared to me.
compared to you, but compared to other people, I'm a fucking loaf.
You're very fit. No, you're a very like put together guy. The average person doesn't have the kind of like chest and arm build that you do, but that's because you've been working on that for like, it seems like almost 2 years now.
Right.
In the making. So, but the average person doesn't have that. Maybe around here because we live in a military town and a lot of people are more in fit just because that's their, a lot of their job.
Yeah.
But, I'd say the average person does not look like you, and you really do kind of just go in on yourself sometimes, which I understand.
Everybody
feels
does
that way. It's hard not to be self-conscious sometimes, but
well, let me tell you the rest of what he said.
I'm not Josh. I know if I had a girlfriend, she would be safely right next to me, and not with Dylan.
Not with Dylan.
Yeah. So those are just that's the little things in life you gotta hold on to.
But like I was saying, he just wouldn't drop it every chance he got. Like, he'd be like, "So Weston, what are you eating for your like pre-workout meals, to get the carbs in and get the energy you need?" Rice, all right, cool. Trevor, you're having nachos, right? All right, cool.
Like, you didn't give me the answer.
Yeah, and then at one point he asked Weston, like, he was like, "Well, what are your macros at? How many calories, how many grams of protein, fat, and carbs do you eat a day?" And Weston gave him like really rough numbers, and he was like, "Trevor, what about you?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really count. I haven't worried about it for a while." And he was like, "Yeah, I guess it's hard to count when all you're eating is hot dogs and pretzels all day." And he didn't fucking stop. But then
gangbangs.
He didn't stop either when I was gone. One day, Weston went to the gym without me, and this guy, this John, his name's John, he walked up and he goes, "No hot dog boy today?"
The pretext to John, though, is this guy is
so
ginormous.
He's a tank.
He's an absolute tank. I honestly don't know what
Built
else
like
to
a
call
brick
him.
shit house.
Oh my god, he's huge.
Yeah.
The guy he gives swole a new definition.
He's like,
and you think that when you see him like in the gym, but then you look like just over his shoulder where he's got like these pictures of, like him and his dad, the awards they won.
Yeah.
Like on the day of, they get all dehydrated and they get swolled up and they're all veiny and shit. And
Right.
It's like, it's honestly not that much of a difference, but you're like, I didn't think this guy could get more like intimidating.
he's at like 6% body fat, which is crazy low, and he's like 225 pounds of just lean muscle.
Oh yeah,
he's massive, and he does not hesitate to make me feel gross.
Does he have like a title of some sort?
No, I don't think so. He's just
what are the? Does he do just kind of like exercise I don't know anything about any of this. Does he do kind of like exercise kind of like competitions, or is it purely just like look at what I've done to my body, kind of like
I think it's more bodybuilding. I don't know if he's ever done powerlifting
like
competitions.
strongman,
Powerlifters
lifting tires and shit.
Powerlifters don't have great physiques. A lot of them are like, because like real strength is
Big and beefy.
isn't like lean and like the Dorito
having
shape.
like that structure.
Yeah, a lot of like real strength is just large, big, thick,
But I mean,
Michelin
John
Man
has that.
arms.
He's a huge guy.
But I don't know if he does powerlifting competitions. His maxes are like super high though. But yeah, that's one thing. This same guy.
The guy you yelled at.
Yeah, I was no, not the guy I yelled at. John, the owner who calls me Hot Dog Boy. This was not too long after that. I was working chest, and I was using dumbbells, and I was about to go like lean back again to start the exercise, and as I started leaning back, something moved like across the gym. I was looking in the mirror behind me across the gym, and I was like, what was that? And I waited to see something move again, and there it was. It was a fucking squirrel. There was a squirrel in the gym, and I was like, hey. And I stood up, I dropped my weights, and I went over to John. I was like, there's a squirrel right there. And he was like, holy shit. And he was like, hold the door open and I'll chase it out. And he grabbed like this big wooden stick that people use for like stretching themselves out. And he just started like trying to chase it and started running around the gym. And I saw him running after it with the stick. And then they ran behind the gym, and I heard the back door open, so I assume it went out there. And he just walked back around the little corner and jammed the stick up in the air like a warrior, and just stared at everyone and like expecting them to clap.
You people are free. I have slain the beast.
It was something. So there's something.
That's kind of shocking because I don't see that
going
many
on.
squirrels around here.
I've seen more and more, especially ever since I moved out of my parents' house. There are a lot out there where I live, and I live like 1 or 2 minutes away from Jaguar. So
because like where I come from in Iowa, the like density of trees is a lot higher. There's just trees.
Oh
everywhere.
yeah, it's probably like a squirrel everywhere.
So there's just squirrels.
You're a squirrel.
My teacher was a squirrel. My neighbor. You never know who they are.
Right.
It's your teachers and your doctors.
You have that power too.
Yeah. Speaking of power, can we talk about this for a second? Not to get political at all, but how awful does it have to feel to run for any kind of office and the Avengers literally endorse your opponent? Like, how does all morale you've ever had not just go down the drain?
I don't know. Have you heard all the stuff surrounding Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
I guess I've heard very little.
I heard he's very conservative and like weird. Isn't he?
He's very
Catholic?
Christian. No, just standard
Some
Baptist.
type of weird.
But I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive. I could be spewing some misinformation right now, but I'm pretty sure what it is there are a lot of people who are angry with him for not publicly endorsing a candidate at all. I don't think he came out and endorsed Trump. But people are like, he's very Christian and leans conservative. He's probably voting Trump, and he's not posting about voting Biden. And so people are kind of like shitting on him, but I don't know if that's...
I don't want to defend him, especially if he is, but it seems kind of unfair if you ask me.
It does. I've also heard...
I can think of all kinds of like celebrities just across the board that haven't like come out and endorsed somebody. So to be like, well, what I know about this guy and his past is like he's kind of more... He would be conservative, so it's like just to assume that he, whether he's announced that he follows, the right candidate or left candidate or whatever. Right. I just don't think he should be attacking him for no reason like that.
I think there was another thing.
I think it's his right to disclose it, actually.
Yeah. I read on Twitter, it was Twitter, but I read on Twitter that someone was talking about like it was a poll, like a really popular poll that somebody put up on Twitter. That was like, who's the worst Chris in Hollywood? And it had like Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, the other ones. Right. And he lost the poll. And so it was like, and that's what started it all, was like a whole like, woe is me. Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. But I think that seems like a little too small to start such a huge thing, especially other Avengers. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. posted a picture of him and Chris Pratt from the set of Infinity War. And in the original picture, Tom Holland's in it. And somebody edited him out. So it's just Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Pratt. And that's what Robert Downey Jr. posted.
What the fuck?
Yeah. There's just this big, like, clearly edited spot in the middle.
On purpose, right?
Right, yeah.
Like he had to just think it was a nice picture and not remember taking it at all. Yeah. But it seems like something like, you gotta imagine Robert Downey Jr.'s a busy ass guy, so he's not taking, keeping track of all these pictures he's taking and shit. But
Elvis didn't vote. He was very big on like, I'm a singer and I'm an entertainer, and my job first and foremost is to entertain you. And I realized I would alienate a lot of people if I started spewing political views. And so someone was like, okay, so you think entertainers should stay in their lane? And he was like, no, absolutely not. That's just my decision. But other people should be able to make that decision as well. Like if they want to share that, that's their right to. But I don't want to do that because I want to appeal to as many people as I can.
That Elvis, what a problematically amazing person.
Yeah,
because he's both sides of that like two-faced coin.
Right.
He's got like some really sketchy stuff about him, and then there's just some really amazing, heartwarming stuff about him.
I don't remember who it was, but somebody was talking about how he was the first rock star, and he went through and just made all of the mistakes so everyone else knew what to look out for. With the like shitty movie career, some bad business decisions, but was still absolutely giant, severe drug addiction, which ended up killing him. He just hit all the marks.
Yeah. He definitely set the tone for what a musician is to be.
Yeah.
A lot of people followed his footsteps. I like to think that my political standing is pretty similar to what I imagine John Lennon's was.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like glorify John Lennon because, like Elvis, he's got his problems too.
Right.
They've all got their scandals and whatnot. But
nobody's perfect.
I think if you were to ask like where I am on the political compass, just find somewhere like mid-Vietnam War when all the hippies are getting fucking beat up and shit, and the draft and just that kind of like give peace a chance feel.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of just like a
schoolgirl's fantasy.
It's a fantasy in a way. It's kind of like a dead idea in the way. Well, not. It's almost evolved into. I wouldn't say a better version of what that was, like the hippie peace craze. But I'd say it's found new outlets and new people to take up the cause. Mm-hmm. It just kind of changes like everything else does. But I think what a lot of things they were going for, of course, getting all that pushback from the government, people like fucking, who was the president at that time? Wasn't that Reagan?
In the 60s? No. Reagan was 80s. The 60s
right.
was it was like JFK,
JFK
Nixon
was,
era.
It had to be Nixon then because
Elvis had a meeting with Nixon. Elvis had a meeting with Nixon where he told him, even though Elvis and the Beatles got along, he told Richard Nixon that the Beatles were a domestic terrorist threat. And this was essentially his whole thing was like, if he went to the president of the United States and talked about this kind of thing and was like, okay, well, I can pick up the slack and really pump out some entertainment for the American people, but I need a prescription for this kind of drug. So, yeah.
Now, you say he didn't like endorse a candidate or anything like that, but do you know where he was politically? Like, do you think
Elvis?
Is he like? Is he more conservative or more liberal? Does he kind of fly somewhere in the middle?
It's a tough one. I think he probably landed.
He's a military guy.
Probably like libertarian, right?
So.
I mean, you think he's from fucking Mississippi, I think, which is like basic Elvis knowledge, and I'm kind of surprised I've forgotten it right now. But he's from the South. And down there, there's it's very heavy conservative values, but at the same time, I don't think he had any problem supporting the civil rights movement, considering most of the people that he grew up with were like black neighborhoods, going to black churches, and that's where his early music came from, was so heavily influenced by black culture, and the rest is history. So I think he's probably I like to assume he was an open-minded guy, but at his core, I don't know. Who's to say?
I'd probably, if I'd have to take a stab, I'd say, yeah, like you said, he's an open-minded guy, but I think for his time, he probably had a line to where, like a limit to where his liberalness would go.
Yeah.
You know, just have whatever. Because what's like peak era Elvis?
I would say 69 to 73. No, 69 to 75.
Yeah. So I'd say civil rights kind of came along well at that point. Do you know how I felt about the gays?
I don't.
Because I feel like he could have had, there's probably values that he had like that. Like, say, I'm not going to say that he was like homophobic or didn't like gay people, but like he very well could have had some kind of feeling like that. I just don't think kind of like with the rest of the consensus of how he deals with things, like it's just not something he wants to put out there.
Yeah.
He just wants to make people happy. That seemed to be the overall thing with Elvis, which is something I can appreciate.
Yeah, that's something I can appreciate as well.
What are we running at?
58 minutes. You want to go for another 15 or so?
Sure. What is today? Today's the 21st October. We're coming up on Halloween.
So the day after tomorrow.
Do you have anything planned for Halloween?
I do, yeah.
2020?
I'm probably going to have to work because Uptown shows the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to have to work, but hopefully I'll be off. I'm going to try and wiggle my way out of closing. If I can't, I'll be off at like 9. And or me
Strap
and
on the old flash suit.
Right. me and my pals are gonna come over to my house, bring some food, and I'm gonna read The Nightmare Before Christmas. I do that every Halloween, nice. Whether it's to my class, but like the original poem by Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And I'll just read them that.
Now, are you someone who would like use like swaps that for both Christmas and Halloween?
I've always seen it as more of a Halloween movie. Yeah. Okay. But it could be swapped. But yeah, no, I usually read that as like a little tradition, and then I'm taking a page out of the old Walt Flanagan handbook and doing. I just got a bunch of like sort of supernatural phenomenon to share, little creepy stories like the Goat Man in Utah. You know what that is? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's one of the ones. You said yeah before I was finished asking, so I assumed you were saying it to something else.
One of the cryptids.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just been collecting some of that, and we might start a little campfire. But that's it. I'm not going to go out to anything big, especially because there's a pandemic, and it's much better to just have something small with your circle.
Nice.
Your people.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
You've been doing. I want to kind of rehash the conversation we've had last night about you've been doing these trivia things for your job recently.
Yeah, trivia night.
Yeah, and the Marvel one didn't go so well.
It didn't go well at all. You want me to talk about that?
Just a little briefly, yeah.
Okay.
Just your fun experiences with it.
So the first week went well. The first week was Star Wars,
Yeah.
and I could handle a Star Wars trivia night. It was really good. The second week was Harry Potter, which I didn't know a whole lot
dress
about.
up to the Star Wars one?
Yeah, we have people dress up every time.
Nice.
The second week was Harry Potter, which I didn't know a whole lot about, but I did some research and got to know it, and I still had fun with the crowd. And this third one was Marvel, and I was really excited for it.
Yeah.
And
something we're very knowledgeable in.
yeah. And Levi had told me beforehand that it was going to be like MCU specific, so I was like, all right, great. And like the fifth question was like right out of the comic books, and I was like, okay, that's not, or the answer would change depending on if it were like one of the questions like who created Ultron. That's different in the MCU and in the comics.
Yeah.
One's Hank Pym and one's Tony Stark. So that was one of the questions, and I was like, well, there's more than one right answer. And then the questions just got worse. More of them were like that, and then there was like 20 questions in a row that was like, who is this? And then it would show a logo of a superhero, not even always Marvel. There was Wonder Woman and Green Lantern in there for sure. And it was a total shit show, and people kept being like, somebody said out loud, because Levi created that trivia night.
The game, it seems like, is almost styled as if you're helping someone else play that game.
Yeah.
You're like in a third party, and they're like, quick, who is this?
Right.
I'm about to win so much money.
But yeah, it sucked because like and I told you about this. This was the thing that like broke my heart the most, was like we kept going through this awful Kahoot.
I love Kahoot.
Yeah, the Kahoot presentation, and it was like some guy just knew that Levi made it, and he was like, this is the guy that wants to take over the theater. And that was the toughest thing I ever had. I was like, I
think the fact that
do
you
not
relayed
want
that message to him later.
I did tell Levi, that someone said that, and he took it heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total shit show, and I was embarrassed to be a part of something like that.
But you have a chance. Of course, this is a Tuesday tradition now.
Right.
You have a chance at redemption, and your next one's going to be horror.
Yeah, horror movies, which I'm already putting my feelers out there. I'm just going to try and get my own trivia. Not that like I'm going to get to a point in the trivia night and be like, this sucks. I prepared some questions, but like I'm going to collaborate with Levi to try and make it a lot better, because I think it's something I look forward to doing, and so it's definitely something that I want to continue to doing, and I can't do that if that sucks.
How do you feel as the host? It's kind of like a bubbly position.
Yeah, it's getting
It's
easier.
an awfully weird position to be asked to be taken just as a general, like, you're stoned.
Yeah,
You're just a
there's
general
not much to
worker, you make a basic wage,
right?
And now you're being asked to run these trivia games. Not
There's
that it's like too much. It's just
there's not much to it at all. I mean, I make stupid jokes on caps off. All I have to do is just make a few of those while reading questions.
You feel like it's kind of the same thing, like you're putting on a performance.
Yeah, definitely. I have to kind of elevate myself a bit, because normally I don't.
Slam a few rails in the bathroom.
I kind of have to like elevate myself into a different way of thinking, and constantly be trying to get myself in the mindset of like, okay, what would a super fan think of? Like, what joke would I make? What joke is too low? Because I want to make the general populace laugh, and that's different than making you and Josh laugh, or you and Weston laugh, So
I think you definitely have that. You can usually get the average person. You have a better eye into the average person than I do, because we've had multiple conversations before.
Yeah, bridges is what we've called them. Yeah, people who bridge two social groups. Yeah,
and like I see these people in daily lives, and I look at them like I'm looking at a rat in a lab.
You're like, ugh, you think you're the protagonist.
And then you just like you were that great at dominoes. You were so personable with like all the regulars that would come in and get the pizza and stuff, and now you have all these, some of the same ones, some new, or most of the new ones that you have at the movie theater, and then you said that this crowd's like a lot of reoccurring people on the Tuesday trip.
Yeah, there are some regulars that somebody said last night. They were like, yeah, even if it's bad, I mean, we still had fun. You still handled it all right, and it's our little Tuesday tradition, so we're not going anywhere.
About how many people would you say?
I'd say
Generally.
Last night was 17 people, and I only know that because
Not so bad.
the thing went so far off the rails that we gave them free movie tickets, so I had to get a head count. But I think it's usually like 10 to 15 people around there.
Do you think that number's ever going to build?
Yeah, probably. This is only the third week we did it, but I think trivia nights are usually really popular in bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
So
I'd say there's a lot of jobs where the amount of effort that certain employees put into certain places doesn't have an effect on how the customers interact, like whether they shop more or not. Like, for instance, like me putting cans of soup on the shelf when I worked in the grocery store, right?
yeah,
If I didn't put the cans there, they couldn't buy it. So that's the immediate interaction I have with the customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you think about it on a deeper level, and I had nothing to do with them needing soup today and coming to the store and buying the soup.
right.
So you think I'm just there, I put soup on shelf, they come buy soup. That's the only
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's your job to run this trivia show, and if I think you have a great personality, and I think you're really good with just people that you're not 100% comfortable with,
Yeah.
which is a really imperative skill if you want to get anywhere in anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a really good example of where, like, obviously, if you were shitty at it, you would have a direct decline of people coming because they don't, they're not having a good time.
Right.
Then you could be doing just doing the job, and then the people are happy with it. But I think this is one of those scenarios where, like, if you tried to put the extra step in, put a little bit more elbow grease and, like, really, like, make a mental note to, like, I'm gonna try harder at this, you might see more outcome, and maybe eventually you might see more people just based around the environment that you create in the theater when you're doing those.
Which is something that I hope to do. I would hope, what would differ that trivia night from any other trivia night, around the city that week would be the energy and the energies I think brought on by the host.
Yeah.
And I try not to be like, listen to me, come on guys, I'm at the front of the room, can you listen to me? Yeah. I try to just act like I'm also an audience member.
Let it be.
Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, so and that's actually what happened last time. Is like I'm with you guys on this one. I'm look, and I just sat down in a seat and just talked into the microphone at like an angle to them. I was like I'm just gonna sit down because I'm with
now,
you.
Do they pay?
No.
So the trivia night's free.
Right.
It's just encouraged to, like, come in and
They buy concessions.
Yeah.
That's where we make our money anyway.
Okay, because I was thinking about that because you said after the Marvel thing failed, you guys just ended up playing a group game of
Among Us. Yeah. So, someone pulled out their phones like, you guys want to play, and I was like, yeah, I want to play.
And I hadn't asked you whether or not it was free or not. So just last night after you told me that story, I just kind of scratched in my head like, do these people pay for some kind of trivia experience? And then they ended up just playing the app they already had on their phone.
Well, and if it was a pay to play type thing, then we would have just refunded their money.
Yeah.
But because it was free, there was no way for us to be like, all right, well, like we couldn't have just been like, well, too bad, sorry it sucked.
Do you think for a failing movie theater, I hate to say it like that.
Well, all right, but at this point in time, that's what it is.
A movie theater that's on its latter side of life.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of the money in concessions. Do you think that your theater could be more creative with their marketing for concessions?
You mean aside from like, because all they do right now is just post on Facebook and say, we're getting a new movie. You can come get this special that we've had for the last 23 years.
Yeah. Or, I mean, even just compared to just like, here's the case with the candy, here's the sign, a menu, there's the hot dog. Like, you got to just do more than just, like, do you think they could be doing more than just, I sell nachos, I sell hot dog? You know what I mean?
Well, what do you mean? Elaborate. Do you have ideas? Do you have an example?
Well, I think I love when they have themed drinks.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a really good idea for that. I think like more creative ideas like that and different ways to sell. Like the packs they did, the multi-packs with like candy and popcorn and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Stuff like they need more stuff like that. I just think like, do you think maybe they're comfortable with their concession situation, or do you think there's like with a lot of things going on with that theater that there's just like all these big ideas and you just can't pounce on all of them at once? So,
yeah, I think that's what it is, because Levi does have some great ideas for the theater. Moving the concession stand. He's got a microbrewery now. He made a partnership with a microbrewery, so we can start serving beer on tap.
I'm really excited about all those, and if I could.
Oh, in a bar.
I don't know if he
like
thinks
a real
I'm
bar
serious or not, but if he wants help, just to see that happen, I'm willing to come in and work for free to help out and see the theater become what it could be. Because
that was our plan.
Yeah, well,
that was our plan before Levi came in and did what we wanted. But we talked about like, can you imagine being just the two guys that saved the theater with our ideas?
It is a good story that I have, and it's not something that I've like completely thrown away. I do feel good knowing that like someone seriously like Levi has like taken up the helm of trying to make the theater a better place and make it more successful. But even then, like it was just kind of like that funny idea. It's just like a weird little cult classic movie idea about these two guys that save a theater that I had, because everything in my fucking head's a movie.
Well, that's good.
But when it comes down to it, since you've worked there, all the times I've gone, and the moments that I have history in that theater now.
Yeah. I
mean, we won second place in the first film thing I've ever been involved in.
Right.
That was amazing. In that theater right there. Mm-hmm. And I can just walk into that theater anytime and look at that stage and remember when the four of us stood up there, good friends, got that award. I tried to make Dylan speak, and then he cut us all off.
I've got a lot of good memories there, too. I was just thinking about it the other day about how much of how many good little just moments, little snippets of moments that I have there, and a lot of that's listening to What Say You and Tell 'Em Steve Dave, those podcasts, and I can recall like certain episodes. I can remember what I was doing that day, and it'd be like it was a long day at work, but I got this done, and like there used to be stuffed animals hanging from the ceiling, and I remember listening to an episode of What Say You.
They got rid of that.
Yeah, the exact episode was they were talking about like when one of them used to deliver pizza and the other would just sit in the passenger seat and crank the chair all the way low so the customer couldn't see that someone was in the car.
And play the embarrassing music really loud.
It was that episode, and I was just going around the theater with a ladder, taking all those stuffed animals down and putting them in trash bags. And that's just one of several memories that I've made there. It's hard to get work done unless I'm listening to Tell 'Em Steve Dave now.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like just over time that theater's really grown on me.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like if I can come in and help him finish painting the walls, I've painted a wall before multiple times. I'm more than happy to help do it just to see it get one step further.
Isn't it funny? There was a whole pandemic. We were shut down for several months, and they didn't finish painting the walls.
Watch paint dry. Lots of time for that.
Yeah. Did I tell you I forgot that the pandemic happened?
You just like
somebody there was someone
it
who
hasn't
said
ended, by the way.
right. But there was a customer who was talking, and she was like yeah, I think I came through one time. This is nice. She's like this is my first time here, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, are you guys enjoying it? And she was like, yeah, we tried to come in a couple months ago, but you guys were closed. And you must have been, yeah, she said you guys were closed. And I was like, that's weird. We're open every single day. And she was like, no, but like shut down. And I was like,
Ghost
no, the
Trevor's
theater didn't.
like, I've always been here, like wiping the counter.
But yeah, and then she had to, she was like, no, like shut down because of the pandemic. And I was like, oh God, what an idiot. What a fucking idiot. Maybe I am retarded. Maybe those guys, those people at the gym are onto something.
Well, at least you know you're not going to get beat up by the guy in the wheelchair. I think that's a good place.
Hey.
Hey. Come in, I have cats. Are you ready for this?
I was born ready. Hi, I'm Trevor.
Hi, I'm John.
And you are listening to another episode of Caps Off with John and Trevor.
The only podcast completely filmed underwater. That's not true.
Remember when we went to Tombstone?
God, boy, do I.
Yeah, big news is we're doing that again. We just recently found out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Dylan's coming
Oh my God! Listen, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. You gotta get out of my house before I call the cops, man. Don't freak out. I need your help. Don't you come any closer. Don't get any closer to me. I don't want to hurt you. I just need your help. This isn't gonna make any sense, but my name is Trevor Valenzuela, and like I said, I need your help.